If you like spreadsheets and games where you level up in like character and skills, like The Sims in my case, then potentially this approach to leveling up your life might appeal to you. So it's based off a video that I watched recently, and I'll link that one below. And she explains how it all works in her video. But in mine, I'm going to focus on creating a spreadsheet that you use to track your progress in case you're not familiar with how to use these formulas and conditional formatting. I did some research on my own to kind of figure it out for this approach. And so the video is a little longer because I show you how to do that. And while doing that, I explain exactly how the process works for me because I am tweaking it a bit from her original idea. So again, if you like games and if you want to level up your life next year and you like spreadsheets, then maybe this video is for you. So I've gone ahead and opened a spreadsheet on one side of my screen and then a notes page on the right side to help me with setting up this spreadsheet. So I've just named it Level Up 2025. But the first step is in your notes pad or on a piece of paper is to figure out which areas of your life you want to level up in the new year. I'm going to go ahead and keep this to just 3 levels because if not, this video will take forever to record because it will take a while to set the spreadsheet. So keeping it to 3, but you might find that you have more areas that you want to work on. You know, I definitely do. But for this case, for this example, we're going to do physical health, creative development, and then self-care are going to be the 3 areas that I want to improve upon in playing this game, so to speak. Now, for each of these, you want to go ahead and figure out what tasks or projects you want to include when you're playing the game. So for example, for physical health, I'll do, so a 15-minute cardio will be one of them, and then 30-minute cardio, and then 15-minute strength training. And then we'll do maybe 80 ounces of water will be one. And then I always eat healthier when I meal prep, so meal prepping will be an item. And then just to help me keep track of how many healthy meals I'm eating in a given month, I'm going to just actually have healthy meal as one of my items as well. So I'm going to keep it simple again because I don't want to make this, too involved here. So for creative development, I'm going to have working on my writing and then working on my networking and then maybe work on my drawing skills and then reading to improve my craft. So again, I'll keep it simple there. And then to make it more specific, so I'll say, 30 minutes of writing. Networking could just be like some kind of task or event. And I'll say 30 minutes of drawing and then 30 minutes of reading. And then for self-care, so I have my self-care card deck. So doing a prompt from that will be one. Gardening will be another. Journaling will be a third. So again, keep it simple there. So now I have my tasks for each of these life areas. Now for each task, you're wanting to figure out how many points each task is worth. So every time you do this task, how much is it worth? And again, the original video is great because it talks about how it's not just the amount of time a task takes, but also the amount of effort and like how much you might dislike the task, right? So if you really dislike the task, then it would be worth more points than a task you enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and say here that the 15-minute cardio is going to be 2 points, 30-minute cardio will be 5, 15-minute strength training will be 5 because I find that harder than just doing some cardio. 80 ounces of water a day, I'll make that a 5-2. Meal prep, 5. And then a healthy meal, since there's going to be literally 3 meals a day, I'm not going to be counting snacks towards this, just like the breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'll just make that, 1 point each because there's going to be a lot of those. All right, and then creative development. So 30 minutes of writing. Again, I'm going to make that a 5. Networking is a bit easier because it's just like going to something. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a 2. 30 minutes of drawing. I'm be totally new at this, so I do need some motivation here, so I'll keep it to 5. And then 30 minutes of reading, very important for improving your craft, so I'll make that 5 as well. And then self-care deck, 5, gardening, 5, and journaling, a bit easier to do, so I'm gonna make that a 2. All right, so I have my task and how many points each is worth. So now I'm gonna actually start using the spreadsheet. So the first column here will just list all of these tasks. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the physical health. And then I'll have the physical health total as a row. And then the creative development. And then the total as a row. And then the self-care with the self-care as a row as well. So let me get rid of these, make this a bit wider, get rid of these numbers here. Okay, so now I'm going to start brainstorming. I'm going to put this over here on the side because it's not going to be part of my, full completed table, but I just need to brainstorm here. So for each of these items, each of these tasks, how many times a month do you plan on doing it? What's the ideal number of times a month that you're going to be doing these things? Okay, so I created my list here, and also this just really depends on you. So for example, for me, I did, half the month, at least 15 minutes of cardio a day, the other half 30. So I just used 30 days as a month in this case, 4 weeks as well. So for example, here, strength training twice a week, 4 weeks. So that's 8 total for the month. And so down the list, I have my items here of here's the ideal, right? The ideal number of times I'm doing this task each month. So then what's the total points for the ideal for each of these, right? So if they did this every single time, right? So if I did 15 minutes of cardio 15 times, well, this is 2 points each time. So the total for the ideal is 30 points. In this case, 15 times 5, right, is 75. So we have that one here. And then so again, go down the list. Okay, so now we have the total if I actually reach the ideal. So now we're going to start building our first formula. So in our true one, right? So we have the task is the first column. The second column is going to be the amount of times we do the task. So task completed. Makes it a little bigger, okay? And then the one after that is going to be how many points do I have at any given moment, okay? So here, I'm just gonna say, okay, when I do this once, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna type out 1, right? And then the next day, let's say I do another 15 minutes, I go back in, and now I say 2, right? So it's how many times I do this task in a given month. So I'm going to use this column to build my formula for the points. So I don't have to do the points manually. Instead, I will say that this particular cell equals, okay, and then it's this cell, right? So it's B2, right? And then times, with a little asterisk, the amount of points I get each time I do this task. So in this case, that's 2, right? So each time I walk for 15 minutes or do some kind of 15-minute cardio exercise, I get 2 points, right? So that's the formula for this cell. So I have that one there, right? It has a 0. If you could click into it, you see the formula. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the bottom right here of the cell. I'm going to go all the way down. And now it's applied that formula to each of these cells. But it does move down. As you see, this is B3, B4, B5, so it does relate specifically to the cell next to it. Now, for the totals, we're going to remove those because the totals work differently. Okay. But we have this applied. Now, again, the points change, right? So in this case, it's times 2, but the next one, it's times 5. So I'm just updating that part of it. and then 2 is correct. So now let's notice, right? So we can test this out. So if I say I've done 15 minutes of cardio, it gives me 2 points, right? So when I do 80 ounces of water, it gives me 5 points, right? And then if I go back next day, I did this water again, now I have 10 points. Okay, so it does this for you. You're manually entering how many times you're doing this task on this second column. All right, so I'm going to erase that again. Now, the totals, right? So for physical health, for the creative development, and for the self-care. So this one has a different formula that's being used, right? Because in this case, it's the total of these. So it equals the sum of, and I already does this for you. It knows what you're looking for it to do here. It's a sum of these cells, C2 to C7 in this case. So I'm going to click enter, so it applies to that. Same here, I'm going to say equals, and it's like, oh, is this what you mean? Yes, it is a sum of these 4. Click enter, and then once more equals, and yep, that's correct. And so now it has applied this as well, okay? So just to make it a little easier to see, I'm going to go ahead and add a color. And then you also want to have your life areas total. So in this case, I'm going to do this manually, right? So it's the sum of specific ones. So C8, which is the physical health one, all right? And then as well as C13 and C17, all right? So that is accurate. And if you want to make sure you're doing that right, go back to one that they made, right? So this is a range, right? So, but you do have some here, you have the parentheses here, and it's all colored, so that suggests that it is working properly. You can test it here as well. Let's say you have 3, 3, 3. So you can see, 15, 15, and 6, 36, so that is correct. And I'll make this another color as well. A little darker because it's different. And then top one here too. Okay, so we have a good starting point here. Now, every single time you completed a task, it will automatically calculate the points. And so you'll see how many points you have for each of your areas, as well as for the total areas, combined. So again, when she explains in the video is that you're going to have leveling up of your areas and then leveling up of your characters, okay? So I'm doing this slightly differently, right? So this is where I diverge a bit because I'm doing leveling up by task, then by skill, so life area skill, and then by character, which is a combination of all the skills combined. So what I'm doing is, okay, well, the ideal is that I do 15 minutes of cardio at least for half the month, right? So 15 in a given month. But if I reach, let's say, doing it 12 times, I'm going to consider that good enough to level up the task, right? So not the skill, but the task. And so let's say 12, right, is what I'm looking for here. What causes a level up? Okay, so that's what would lead to leveling up of the task. So to make this easy to see on your finalized table, I'm going to add some conditional formatting so it's easy to see visually that this goal has been reached, right? So if I go here to the task completed one, I'm going to go ahead, go to format and say, let's do some conditional formatting. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say that in this cell, if it's greater than or equal to 12, right, because that's the goal, then I want it to turn green, right? So I have this color green here, right? And then I go down and I get the same thing. If this one is greater than or equal to 12,
go ahead and turn green, and then go down, right? So in this case now, it's if it's greater than or equal to 6, because 6 is what causes the level up. So I'll go ahead and apply this down the whole row. Okay, so that's been applied all the way down. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you can use the points column instead. So you can say, okay, well, if the goal is to do, 25, and for the 80 ounces of water, that's 5 points each time, then I'm going to go have conditional formatting here that if I reach 125, then turn green, right? So you can do it in the points one if you want, but I'm just doing the task completed here for this particular example. Okay, so now we have that. So for example, if for the 80 ounces of water, I reach 25, right? So I've done it 25 times. Boop, it's turned green. And so that signals to me that I have leveled up this task, right? So now we have leveling up, right? So what level are you in for a task? Okay, so currently we're all starting at 0. We don't have a level yet, but when I hit this goal, that tells me, oh, okay, so I am in level 1 now. So now that we're at this level, I'd probably go back here and go back to the conditional formatting and say, now, rather than 25, if I reach 50, right? So it'll turn back to white again. And then when I reach 50, again, it'll turn green and that'll tell me, okay, I'm ready to go to level 2. Now, I'm sure there's some way of doing this that, when I reach a certain number, this one changes too. I'm not that advanced, so I'm doing this step manually. Maybe that will change as I get more used to working in spreadsheets. But I'm content with just the fact that, it does change a color that signals to me that I've reached the leveling up of a task. So at this point, I give myself a small reward. Okay, so you can have a little second spreadsheet if you want with all your rewards that you get depending on if you have leveled up on a task versus a skill versus a character leveling up. Okay, so but here, this is task level. Now the next leveling up is leveling up of the skill, right? So we have skill level. I'm going to go ahead and add a column here to create some separation, right? So we have skill level here. So that ties into these, right? These totals of these 3 skills. Now I do have here what the ideal is, right? So if I'm matching what I want to achieve for all of these physical health ones, then I can go ahead and do the sum of all of them, right? And it does tell me to do that automatically, right? And then same here. The sum of these and the sum of these, okay? So the ideal is to reach 425, to reach 128, and to reach 140. Now you might say, I can only level up the skill if I reach the ideal, hard line. I need to actually do all of these things perfectly in order to level up the skill. But again, you want to actually make it more achievable. So give yourself a chance here. So for example, you might say instead that, okay, I don't have to reach 425. I don't have to be perfect, right? I have to reach, let's say, 380 instead, right? So in this case, you're doing that same conditional formatting here, right? Because this is the total points for the physical health. So you go back to the conditional formatting and you say, okay, well, if we're greater than or equal to, and then again, you choose. So let's just say 385, right? Go ahead and turn green. All right, and so for this one, the total is 128, but we're gonna say if it's greater than or equal to 110, that's enough to level up, okay? And then in this case, 140 is a total here, so conditional formatting, if we reach 120, okay? So now you're giving yourself some wiggle room for leveling up. You don't have to be perfect in order to achieve this. Now again, so let's just do this so it actually shows this. Okay, we're still too small here. So let's do this 6 times. There we go. All right, so that's enough. where we've leveled up in all of these tasks, right? All these tasks are green, so I can tell myself I've moved up a level in the task. These two I haven't, right? Because healthy meals did not achieve it, and the 15 minutes I didn't achieve it, okay? But I did reach 391, so now I've gone up in the skill itself. And again, I'm doing this manually because I don't know exactly how to do this in spreadsheets to make it like once this turns green, also add 1, but here we go, right? So this is leveling up the skill. And then of course you have the life areas total, right? So these are all of them combined. So in this case, if we have the sum of this one, which is I8, okay, and then I13 and I18. Oh, something went wrong here. Oh, no wonder, we're R in 18, so it should be 17. Perfect. Okay, so then the ideal total here is 693. Again, what's enough for leveling up the character, right? Because that's the last one we have here is the character leveling up. Okay, again, make some space here. Okay, well, 693 is what's needed if it's perfect, but again, we're not trying to go for perfection right off the bat. So we're going to go ahead and say we're going to do some conditional formatting. And this is if I reach, let's say 590, then you can turn green. So gives plenty of wiggle room for this first time around. And so again, let's just add numbers here so we can just okay, great. And then 9, 12, 7. Okay, and now here we go. So we are leveling up on all these, some but not all. We've leveled up in 2 of the 3 skills, but it's enough to get us a character leveling up, even though we have not achieved the leveling up of the skill of self-care. Okay, so now we have character level 1. Now you can get more complex here in the formatting aspect, right? So in this case, I had that if it's greater than or equal to 12, it turns green, right? Because that was enough to level up the task. So now that I've achieved it, right? So I know I'm at task level 1, I can go back in here and now say it has to be, greater than or equal to 24, for example. And then again, it turns white until you reach that. And then once it does, it will turn green again. And I can now say level 2, right? So I can go in and like manually update these for now if I want to. But another option, let's go back to 12 here, is I can have, right? So it's there because I've reached 12. So I'm at level 1 here. But then I can add another rule, right? So rather than greater than or equal to, I can just say if it's between 12 and 23, it should be green, right? And so once you hit 12, it's good. And if you're at 23, it's still green. But then add another rule that if it's between 24 and 35, it should be blue, right? So done. And so now when I reach, let's say 25, right? Now it's blue, and that means I'm ready to go up in my task level. So now that's the 2. So I can have here, okay, so in order to level up on this task, I need to have 12. And then we're just going to multiply going forward in levels, hitting 12 again and again and again. So in this case, I have, okay, if it's between 12 and 23, it's green. If it's between 24 and 35, it's blue. If it's between 36 and so on. And it's just all these little different colors depending on where we are, right? And I can have a little, key here where green is level 1, blue is level 2, orange is level 3, pink is level 4, right? So I can just have knowledge right down here of, okay, the color signals what task level I'm at. And same with the skill level, right? So you have here greater than or equal to 385, right? But knowing what your leveling up is for the skill, you can do the same thing of it's between, 385 and a certain number. And then once you go to the next stage, right, it turns a different color. Okay, so you can do that as well. So now we have this color-coded system where it's signaling to you leveling up in the task, skill, and character because you're using the same colors each time. So every single time you create this, you have the same order of level 1 is green, level 2 is blue, level 3 is pink, level 4 is purple, and so on, right? So this can take some time. Again, there might be a faster way of doing this. Actually, I'm sure there's a faster way of doing this, but this is what I know how to do. And I figured for those of you who are, not Excel/spreadsheet sheets experts either and just want something they can follow along with, then this is something that you can try out for yourself. So as I mentioned earlier, I recommend having a sheet for your ideas for rewards. This would be a task level reward, a skill level, and a character level, right? So every time you level up, the task rewards would be smaller than skills, which would be smaller than characters. It's up to you to decide what these are, so you know yourself best, obviously, but you can just write out a list here of ideas. And so once you achieve, again, I've leveled up, I can go ahead and pick one of my prizes. And so that gives you those rewards for leveling up in the game of life. Now, just to clear things up, I'm going to just go ahead and highlight this, cut it from it, and then I'll add a third sheet here, which I'll call Worldbuilding, right? Because here's what we started out as far as leveling up for all of my life areas. Okay, and I can actually add a row. And so just as a reminder that, okay, this was what I originally came up with as far as what the ideal is, right? As you continue on, you might find that actually nowadays I want to be hitting 15 minutes of cardio every day, not just half of the month. I want to hit strength training, 2/3 of the month. I want to meal prep more times, and so you can change these numbers, but you always know what your starting point is here for your table. I went ahead and made just some edits to prettify it, so to speak, added names to the various sheets, and again, some different colors here. I added my key. So this is level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the colors now for the conditional formatting. And then I'll go ahead and just clear the board here. So I did some research and I figured out a way of making these auto update depending on how many points I have in the points column. And so I wanted to show you this. It's not perfect, but it at least is a starting point here. So I'll make this bigger by putting it over here. And okay. So we're using the IFS function in order to get this to work. And so basically, so this is the first one, right? So the 15 minutes of cardio. I need 24 points in order to reach task level 1, and then 48 to reach 2, and then 72 to reach 3, right? We're just doubling up, so to speak. And so here, the way this works is you have, the IFS, right? Open parentheses. So if C2 is less than 24, we're at level 0. If it's less than 48, it's at level 1. Less than 72, it's at level 2. Less than 96, we're at level 3. And then this is a monthly table. So I'm doubting I'm getting to level 2, but above level 3 seems unlikely because that means I'm doing 4 times the amount of, what I needed in order to level up in a given month. So unlikely, but what I did was if it's greater than or equal to 96, then go ahead and write wow, and then next to it, level 4, so I know where I'm at. Because again, I'm highly unlikely to reach level 4 on a task in 1 month, right? So that's how I've done this example. So if we're here and I have 20 points, we're in level 0. But once I hit 24, I've reached level 1 for this task. If I'm at 40, I'm still in level 1. But once I hit 48, so let's say I'm at 50, now I'm in level 2, right? If I'm at 70, I'm still at level 2. But once I hit 72, I'm now on level 3. And again, if I go like above and beyond and I'm at 100 somehow, then it says, wow, 4, right? So now if I'm at 200, that's not level 4 anymore, but I don't have any more functions. Like I don't have, this won't change to level, let's say it's at 6, right? This is as high as it goes for the way I have figured out how to do this, at least again, as a starting point. So let's see how this works with the skill level for physical health, right? So we have equals, IFS, open parentheses. So to begin, if C8 is less than 385, which is what we need to level up, then we're at 0. However, if C8 is less than 770, then we're at 1. Because that's going to mean that if we're at 385 to 769, that's all 1, right? Once we hit 770, we're leveling up to 2 because that's double the first one, right? So if we do comma, C8 is less than 1155, which is when we hit level 3, right? Then we're at 2. And then again, I'm not anticipating being able to get higher than level 2, but we need to add more because let's say you hit 1155, it'll give you an error because there's nothing about what to do if it's 1155 or greater, right? So comma, so if C8 is greater than or equal to 1155, quotation mark, so I can add a word, wow, we're in level 3 now, close quotation mark, close parentheses. Okay, so what this is going to do is, now if I hit 2,000, actually no, because 1155, I double that. If I hit 3,000, it's not going to take me to level 4 because I don't have that formulated. But again, this is just 1 month. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter here. So I'm at 0 because I'm at 0 points. If I'm at 380, I'm still at 0. But once I hit 385, now I'm at 1. If I hit 670, I'm still at 1. Once I hit 770, so let's say I'm at 780, now I'm at 2. And then again, if I hit 1155, wow, I'm in level 3. But again, if I hit 3000, I'm still at level 3. It's not going to calculate level 4. So this is how I figured this out. It's not perfect, but again, since this is a month by month table, I don't need like level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7. So I'm content doing it this way because, when I make the next month, if I'm starting off, let's say at level 2, then again, I can just update the formula in that next month, starting with 2, right? So just updating these numbers and I'm good to go. Okay, so that's basically how we can automate this area as well. And now in the case of the character level, you could only level up once a month, according to the original rules at least. So in this case, you wouldn't have to have anything too, intense. It's literally just, equals if C18 is less than 590, which is what you need in order to level up, then you're at 0. Sorry, IFS. Yeah. But if C18 is greater than or equal to 590, then you're at 1. Right? So if we're at 500, we're at 0. If we're at 590, we're at 1. So that one's simpler to do because you could only level up once.
One tip I have, since I've been doing this a little bit now, is wait until the end of the day to mark your spreadsheet of what you did that day. Because I found that if I try to do it as I go, but then work happens, so now it's hours later, and I'm like, did I mark lunch as healthy? I'm pretty sure I did breakfast, but I don't think I did both. Like, I forget things. So I think it's best for me to just wait until the end of the day and just go down the list and say, yeah, did that. No, yes, I did that. And so that way I don't have to worry about forgetting something or doubling up on points accidentally. So that's just one tip if you do plan on using this approach. If you have your own ideas for how to tweak this approach, let me know in the comments, and click like if you enjoyed this video, and definitely if you plan on taking this approach in the new year.